I had barely even opened my eyes before realizing my left wrist was tightly bound by a heavy gold chain, while the other end of that very same chain was securely locked around the wrist of my absolute, sworn nemesis, who also happened to be my childhood friend, Xie Yakyan. Without wasting a single second, I violently yanked the sleeping woman awake. "You idiot! What on earth do you think you're doing? How dare you fall asleep in my bed?" Xie Qian didn't look remotely drowsy, nor did she seem even slightly surprised by my outburst. Instead, her crimson lips slowly parted into a subtle, mocking smirk as she locked her eyes onto me. I aggressively hoisted my left wrist in the air. "What is the meaning of this? Unlock this damn thing right now." I shoved the heavy gold chain right in front of her face. Suddenly, Xie Qian's expression flared with intense, emotional fury. "You're planning to run off to find Yuan Diandian again, aren't you? Well, keep dreaming. For as long as you live, you will never see her face again." I scratched my head in utter confusion, asking, "Yuan who now? Who the hell is she? And why on earth would I go looking for her?" This time, it was Xie Qian's turn to freeze in absolute disbelief. But that stunned silence lasted for only a fleeting second, before her mind quickly raced back to all the toxic stunts I had pulled in the past. Seeing that she wasn't giving me any answers, I decided to survey our immediate surroundings myself. It was a massive, incredibly spacious bedroom, the kind of lavish decor that practically screamed exorbitant wealth. Assuming that I was simply gearing up for another one of my violent tantrums, Xie Qian sneered mockingly, her voice dripping with pure sarcasm. "What are you plotting this time? Going to smash another vase over my head, or are you planning to?" I completely tuned out her venomous words. After conducting a swift, analytical scan of the room, a barrage of burning questions instantly flooded my mind. "Where exactly are we? Is this your place? But I distinctly remember your house looking nothing like this. How'd I even end up here? And why the hell am I chained up next to you? Furthermore, why on earth were we sharing the same bed? What did you do to me? And is this gold chain actually cheap alloy? Or is it real gold? Surely it's fake, right? You honestly don't recognize this place? This is the very house you secretly bought behind my back, deliberately hiding it from me. What is your game here?" Suddenly, a bizarre phenomenon caught my eye. A translucent, glowing line of text materialized out of thin air. Here we go again. The male lead is starting his pathetic amnesia act. He's faking amnesia just to manipulate his villainous wife again. Holding a moment of silence for my poor President Xie. How long is he going to keep up this charade this time? I bet he won't even last a single day. The second female lead has definitely seen right through him by now. This is literally his third time pulling this stunt. She's absolutely not buying his lies anymore. By the way, is Yuan Diandian going to be online today? Don't underestimate her. What's so great about the female lead anyway? Can we please just focus on our gorgeous, highly tragic second female lead for once? Male lead, female lead, and that villainous wife? I recognize every single one of these words, but reading them together sent a chilling shiver right down my spine. This bizarre, surreal sensation. Have I actually traveled to another world? No, that's impossible. I am still undeniably myself. And the woman glaring at me is indeed my childhood friend, Xie Qian, who has absolutely detested my guts since we were kids. So you don't even remember Yuan Dian anymore? What exactly do you remember? I completely ignored her sharp question, focusing on my own theory. Am I actually married? Are you supposed to be my wife? How on earth is that even possible? Xiao Chun, if your goal is to force a divorce, you can absolutely forget about it. I will never allow you and Yuan Diandian to run off together. Even if it destroys me, I will make sure you never end up with her. I'm not even 20 yet. How could I possibly be legally married? The marriage certificate has to be a total forgery. This whole union is completely illegitimate. Exactly how old do you think you are right now? I am 19. Xie Qian's pupils dilated in sheer shock as her heart skipped a beat, but she quickly forced herself to regain her composure. Xiao Chun, I have absolutely zero desire to waste any more of my precious time on your antics. Cut the dramatic act, faking amnesia over and over again. Aren't you tired of this pathetic routine? Because I'm thoroughly exhausted by it. Just stop chasing after Yuan Diandian. She doesn't hold a single ounce of genuine love for you. Amnesia? I haven't lost my damn mind. Just yesterday, I dominated the 800-meter sprint at the school sports meet. But while I was boasting to you about taking first place, my legs suddenly cramped up. Though looking at the current state of things, it seems like my memory has some massive, glaring gaps. Jie Qian's face grew increasingly pale and tense, as her cold, analytical gaze remained locked onto me. It was shortly after that sports meet that Xiao Chun first crossed paths with Yuan Diandian. If Xiao Chun has genuinely lost his memories, then just now, him saying you didn't even know Yuan Diandian makes perfect logical sense. You are absolutely not 19. You're 26 years old now, and we have been legally married for 4 whole years. For years. A full 4 years. No way. I distinctly remember being only 19. And besides, why on earth would I ever marry you? You literally swore to my face before that even if every single man on this planet vanished, you would never, ever fall for me. I'll choose to give you the benefit of the doubt for today. But if I catch you trying to manipulate me again, next time, I won't just be using a simple gold chain to lock you up. I stared at the golden links, asking out of sheer curiosity, Yiqian, is this actual gold or just some cheap alloy? It's genuine gold. But it's only 18-karat gold, meaning it has lower purity and hardness. So it's basically still a metal alloy. Man, what a total disappointment. Jie Qian's cold tones softened ever so slightly. If there is anything you want to buy, just tell me. I will buy it for you. Whoa, did you have a complete personality transplant? Back then, whenever I begged you for a tiny bit of pocket money, you made it practically impossible, constantly nagging that your money was strictly reserved for your future husband. And now you're suddenly this generous? Well, because you're my husband now. How could I possibly agree to marry you? Did you lose your mind, or did I completely lose mine? You're not pulling my leg, are you? Xie Qian calmly reached over to the nightstand, grabbed our marriage certificates, and tossed them right in front of me. They were entirely genuine, complete with official embossed seals. I stared at the date. We really did tie the knot at age 22, the exact year we graduated, as the soft morning light filtered through the massive floor-to-ceiling windows. Xie Qian sat quietly in the dining room, her pensive gaze drifting over toward me. Annie Wong spoke up politely, "Young master, your breakfast is fully prepared." My eyes instantly lit up the moment I saw the lavish spread on the table. Xie Qian silently watched my every move. As I stuffed my face, I yelled over toward the kitchen, "Annie Wong, your culinary skills are absolutely legendary." Annie Wong poked her head out from the kitchen, beaming. "I'm just glad you love it, young master. Please, eat as much as you like. I absolutely adore this," I mumbled, as I aggressively stuffed another crispy pan-fried bun into my mouth. This pure, genuinely joyful expression on Xiao Chen's face. Just how long has it been since I last saw it? But what if this is all just a calculated act? In a split second, the warmth that had almost overflowed from her eyes was instantly consumed by a freezing layer of frost. What if Xiao Chan is only trying to lower my guard, just so he can abandon me once again and run back to Yuan Diandian? I will give Xiao Chan this one final opportunity. I will wait, observe closely, and make my judgment. This terrifying suspicion coiled like a venomous serpent, tightly around Xie Qian's heart. She slowly set her coffee cup down. If Xiao Chun is indeed trying to deceive me again, that custom-made gold cage waiting down in the basement is still desperately missing its permanent occupant, and I wouldn't mind locked up Xiao Chun inside it forever. I suddenly broke the silence, asking, "Yiqian, how come I don't remember your family being this filthy rich before? This massive villa must have cost a fortune, right? Did you buy it yourself? Just how much money have you actually made over these past few years?" Xiao Chen had never once inquired about her net worth, showing absolute indifference to everything regarding her life. In the past, Xiao Chen only had eyes for Yuan Diandian, only cared about Yuan Diandian, and would do absolutely anything to please Yuan Diandian. Xie Qian took a slow, deep breath and replied, "It wasn't that expensive. Only a little over $300 million. Currently, my total personal net worth is sitting at several hundred billion." My eyes had already gone completely wide the moment I heard 300 million, but hearing that she was worth several hundred billion made my eyeballs nearly pop straight out of their sockets. She is literally unfathomably wealthy. I slammed my chopsticks down and stared at her with absolute seriousness. "So you're saying we are indeed legally wedded spouses right now, correct? Which means we share marital assets. Heh, half of your astronomical wealth legally belongs to me, which means I'm officially a multi-billionaire too. Well, doing this here is a bit awkward. How about we head back to the bedroom? After all, since Xie Qian and I are already legally married, no matter how things play out, I'm definitely the one winning here. My grin was completely bright, devoid of any hidden malice. As Xie Qian stared at my sheer, unadulterated joy, she couldn't help but let a soft smile slip onto her own face. Could he actually, truly have lost his memory this time? In the past, no matter how hard Xiao Chun tried to fake it, he could never fully conceal the deep disgust he felt toward me. No, I must continue to closely monitor Xiao Chun. We actually signed a prenuptial agreement. A prenuptial agreement? Meaning if we get a divorce, you'll be kicked out absolutely penniless. My face instantly fell as if I'd been struck by lightning. You actually set a trap for me, Xie Qian. I never, ever expected you to be such a calculating person. You have deeply, profoundly disappointed me. When we tied the knot, you were actually the one who aggressively insisted on it. Me? Insist? Why on earth would I do that? Was I literally dropping on my head? Wasting an entire fortune just to play some high and mighty saint? Because at that time, Xiao Chun had absolutely zero genuine interest in marrying me. Back then, he had merely been deeply devastated by Yuan Dian, which was the only reason he reluctantly agreed to walk down the aisle with me. That prenuptial agreement was also something Xiao Chun stubbornly demanded. We signed, constantly making sure to remind me that we are absolutely nothing more than husband and wife on paper. How we even end up getting married in the first place? And seriously, who in the world is this Yuan Dian anyway? I pushed further for answers. Right as I voiced my question, my eyes drifted back toward those mysterious, floating comments. Darling Xiao Chun, Yuan Dian is your true wife. Oh, please, give me a break. His legal, actual wedded wife is clearly Xie Qian. Wife Xie and husband Xiao Chun are absolutely a match made in heaven. You delusional shippers who want the second female lead to win. I will fight you to the absolute death. A home-wrecking third, doesn't deserve to be the female lead. Oof. Just wait until the male lead regains his memory. He will definitely run straight back to the female lead's arms. You clowns better not ruin the canon couple, okay? Piecing together these chaotic comments, it slowly dawned on me that myself, Xie Qian, and this mysterious Yuan Dian character were essentially the hopelessly devoted male lead, the villainous second female lead, and the toxic female lead straight out of a trashy romance novel. But what on earth did this girl even look like? To make me willingly self-sabotage my own life for her? Xie Qian hesitated for long, while before finally speaking up. Yuan Dian is your supposed first love. To protect her, you subjected me to endless deception, pulling every trick, and weaving every lie in the book. Why on earth did I sign that stupid prenuptial agreement? I must have been an absolute, brainless idiot. Xie Qian stared blankly at my outburst. Xiao Chun, you wake up with amnesia, and the very first thing you do is aggressively insult yourself? Do we need to call the family doctor over? I vigorously shook my head. No need, I'm completely fine. Xie Qian carefully observed every single one of my micro-expressions. This is far too bizarre. Xiao Chen's entire behavior today is incredibly out of character. Could Xiao Chun have secretly established contact with Yuan Dian again? And did Yuan Dian feed him some new instructions? This sudden bout of amnesia, could it actually just be a meticulously orchestrated theatrical performance? Is the ultimate goal simply to make me drop my defenses? Yet his vibe feels exactly like it did in the old days, long before Xiao Chun ever fell head over heels for Yuan Dian. Xie Qian's gaze gradually turned ice cold, as suspicion began to spread through her mind like wild, creeping vines. Once Xie Qian finished her breakfast, she had urgent corporate matters demanding her attention at the office, and prepared to head out. I was still happily stuffing my face, but seeing Xie Qian get up to leave, I instinctively followed her, and casually blurted out, "Where are you heading?" "To work." I nodded and muttered, "All right, I totally forgot." "So, where exactly do I work then?" "You are strictly forbidden from leaving this house." I looked up, utterly exasperated. "Why? Do you seriously think I'm playing you? Your track record of credibility with me is practically non-existent. But I genuinely do not remember a single thing from the past 6 years. I don't even know what that Yuan whoever girl Even looks like, let alone who she actually is. What mischief could I possibly get into? Since you've forgotten everything, then be a good boy and stay put at home. Don't even dream of attempting an escape. There are security guards stationed all over the villa. Xie Qian's eyes were still filled with deep mistrust. Sure, but if I agree to stay cooped up inside, you at least have to give me something to entertain myself with. I'll have my assistant deliver a brand new device to you shortly. I flashed a bright grin and threw her a cheerful okay sign. Yet the absolute second Xie Qian stepped out the front door. She coldly instructed the bodyguards, watch him like hawks. Do not allow the young master to leave under any circumstances, and do not let him meet with anyone, especially not Yuan Diandian. Understood, President Xie. President Xie, we have an exceptionally critical bidding session tonight. It's a major showdown between the Xie Group and the Yuan Group, along with several other high-profile enterprises competing for the contract. Xie Qian's personal assistant stood close by, efficiently debriefing her on today's hectic corporate schedule. The assistant had also caught wind of my antics from this morning, and couldn't help but feel a deep sense of anxiety. Every single time the young master pulls one of these dramatic stunts, his sole purpose is to help the Yuan Group hijack our business deals. Even though the Yuan Group's competitors aren't limited to the Xie Group, we are undeniably their absolute fiercest rival in the market. Having caught wind of my antics earlier this morning, the assistant couldn't help but feel a deep, nagging sense of anxiety. If they can successfully eliminate the Xie Group from the equation, absolutely no one will be left to stand in the Yuan Group's way. Spit it out, Xie Qian commanded. President Xie, is it possible the young master is completely faking his amnesia? Just to lower your guard and make you complacent, only to pull off some massive, devastating stunt during tonight's gala? After all, the young master has aggressively sabotaged the Xie Group's business contracts countless times before. Yet, President Xie always dotes on him to a fault, even when it results in astronomical losses for the company. The board of directors is already incredibly furious about it, and yet, she still stubbornly refuses to divorce him. He's utterly blind, failing to cherish such an incredible wife, only to desperately chase after a manipulative, toxic woman. I feel so incredibly bad for Xie Qian. If we are indeed dealing with that exact scenario, make sure you draft an airtight contingency plan immediately, no matter what kind of chaos unfolds tonight. We must secure this contract at all costs. We cannot let the young master's unpredictable behavior completely derail our strategic business plans. Understood, President Xie. You are absolutely correct. Meanwhile, back at the villa, having stuffed myself to my heart's content, I collapsed back onto the bed. I have to admit, this bed is absolutely colossal. The sheets and pillowcases are crafted from the most luxurious, silky smooth silk, and the mattress is incredibly plush and comfortable, complete with state-of-the-art smart adjustments. Honestly, I don't think I'll ever need to leave this room again. Back in the day, the Qiao family and the Xie family were merely comfortable, middle-class households. Sure, they could afford high-end furniture like this, but buying an entire massive, sprawling estate like this was completely out of the question. I still can't wrap my head around it. Just how on earth did Xie Qian build this insane empire? How did she become so phenomenally, ridiculously successful? I glanced up at the floating comments, still scrolling endlessly, but they were mostly just spamming useless, trivial nonsense, along with a bunch of irrelevant chatter. With zero useful intel to gather, I lazily swiped them away. A short while later, my brand new phone lit up with an incoming text. Xiao Chun. Tonight's project is absolutely critical for us. You must do whatever it takes to keep Xie Qian distracted. Once I successfully crush the Xie Group, you and I'll finally get married. While I was left completely baffled, I glanced up at the floating comments. Ugh, how does the female lead still have the nerve to manipulate him like this? The male lead will definitely agree. He's so hopelessly head over heels for her, but wait, maybe not. He's currently suffering from amnesia, remember? He literally has no clue who this female lead even is. We still don't know for sure if his memory loss is real. What if he's just faking it to completely outsmart the villainess? Tonight's corporate bidding project is an absolute game changer. Whoever secures it will leave the other competitor completely in the dust. Please, I beg the male lead not to ruin everything this time. Suddenly, everything clicked. It turned out The person blowing up my phone with these texts was none other than that toxic, manipulative girl everyone was talking about. I rolled over on a massive bed and continued casually scrolling through my phone. When about 10 minutes passed without a single response from my end, Yuan Dian finally realized something was seriously off and began showering me with sweet, empty promises to coax me into doing her dirty work again. Getting thoroughly annoyed by the endless notifications, I just blocked her. Yuan Dian was utterly stunned that I had actually blocked her. Wait, why did he block me? Could it be because I've been acting a bit too distant and cold toward him lately? Panic-stricken, Yuan Dian immediately spammed me with a barrage of texts, overflowing with sweet talk, desperately claiming that her relationships with those other wealthy men were completely fake and purely professional, business-oriented partnerships. She insisted that her heart belonged solely to me, that she was working hard to make money just so we could marry, and that securing this massive contract was only so she could provide a much better life for us in the future. Amused, I shot back a simple reply. Transfer me $5 million to prove your financial strength first. Yuan Dian's attitude flipped instantly. Xiao Chun, you've completely changed. You were never this materialistic or money-obsessed before. You used to be so incredibly pure, innocent, and untainted, just like freshly fallen white snow. Has spending so much time around Xie Qian finally corrupted your mind? No, you need to stay as far away from that woman as possible. I am working myself to the bone right now for our future. So why can't you support me and show me some basic empathy? I frowned, plunging into a deep crisis of self-doubt. You gotta have some sympathy for me, right? I knitted my brows, spiraling into absolute self-doubt. I couldn't help but wonder. Did I seriously fall for such a basic, manipulative girl in the past? Am I actually an Ice Guy protagonist? Or did I genuinely lose my memories? But regardless of what the truth is, there is absolutely no way I would ever fall for such a basic, unremarkable girl. Realizing it was a complete waste of breath arguing with someone so dense, I immediately blocked her number as well, and rolled over to keep playing on my phone in peace. Meanwhile, on her way to the high-stakes bidding war, Nanny Wang frantically called Xie Qian. Hello, Annie Wang? But before Xie Qian could even ask why she was calling, the nanny cried. Miss, the young master is suddenly throwing up violently at home. He is clutching his stomach, writhing and rolling on the floor in sheer agony. Where's the family doctor? I just called. He's on his way. The young master wants us to call an ambulance, but the bodyguards are blocking him, saying they must get your explicit permission first. Tell those brainless idiots to dial 115 this absolute instant. If anything happens to the young master, they can all pack their bags and get fired immediately. Call 115 right now. There is not a single second to waste. Xie Qian slammed her phone shut and barked orders at the driver to pull a sharp U-turn. But President Xie, the crucial bidding session is about to begin, and the young master suddenly gets a stomachache right at this exact moment. The assistant in the front seat quickly cautioned. I know exactly what you are implying, but to me, Xiao Chen always comes first, even if every single emergency is just a boy who cried wolf trick to deceive me. I will still choose to believe him every single time. Xiao Chun can throw tantrums and deceive me countless times, but I can never afford to ignore him. I'm not some lucky person. I simply cannot lose Xiao Chun, nor could I ever survive the excruciating pain of losing him. The assistant opened her mouth to argue further, but ultimately sighed and responded, yes, ma clock. The sleek black sedan, which was just about to pull up to the bidding venue at the very next intersection, suddenly whipped around and sped frantically back toward the Xie estate. Xie Qian took a long, trembling breath. It wasn't that she hadn't considered the possibility. This could easily be yet another meticulously orchestrated stunt. The timing was just far too convenient, plainly calculated to disrupt her attendance at this critical bidding war. But she simply couldn't risk it. She couldn't bring herself to gamble with his life. She just didn't dare to take that risk. Even if the boy who cried wolf fable repeated itself 100 times, she would still, on the 101st time, run to Xiao Chen's side without a single moment of hesitation. Suddenly, her phone vibrated with an urgent text from Annie Wang. The ambulance has arrived and is rushing the young master to the hospital. Her assistant rapidly tapped away on her tablet, scrambling to manage the postponement of the critical bidding session, while Xie Qian kept her eyes glued to the scenery flashing past the window. The tires screeched violently to a halt, right in front of the hospital's emergency department. Xie Qian, practically before the vehicle had even fully stopped, lunged out and sprinted inside. Just outside the emergency ward, Annie Wong and several bodyguards were pacing back and forth in sheer anxiety. The moment Annie Wong spotted her, she cried out, "Miss!" Xie Qian's voice was visibly trembling as she demanded, "Where is the young master?" "He's inside. The doctors are currently performing an examination." Xie Qian rushed over to the operating room doors and peered through the small glass viewing window, only able to make out a blur of medical staff rushing back and forth inside. She clenched her fists tightly, desperately forcing herself to remain composed, then whipped around to face the head-bowed bodyguard standing nearby. Who exactly was the one who blocked the ambulance call? Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the air like sharp icicles. A towering, stiff-necked bodyguard took a hesitant step forward. "Ma'am, according to your previous strict instructions, if anyone requested emergency services or wanted to transport the young master out of the villa, it required direct. What I strictly require from you all is to guarantee his absolute safety and well-being, not to let him writhe on the floor in agonizing pain." Xie Qian coldly cut him off, her eyes burning with a terrifying, suppressed fury. If anything had genuinely happened to him today, which one of you could possibly pay the price? The bodyguard stood frozen like silent cicadas in winter, not daring to utter another single word of excuse. Right at that moment, the emergency room doors swung open, and a doctor stepped out. Xie Qian immediately rushed over to intercept him. "Doctor, how's my husband?" "It is acute gastritis. The patient is severely underweight and clearly eats very little on a regular basis. But this morning he overate far too much, all at once, causing his stomach to overload, triggering violent spasms and vomiting. We've already administered medication, and the spasms have finally subsided. Once the foredrip is finished and we observe him for a bit, he should be fine. There's no need to worry." Her racing heart, which had been throat-high, finally settled back down, leaving behind a wave of sheer exhaustion and weakness, but even more so, an overwhelming sense of profound relief. Xie Qian let out a long, heavy sigh of relief. "Thank you, doctor. Can I go in and see him now?" "Yes, but the patient desperately needs his rest right now. Please try to keep it as quiet as possible." Xie Qian nodded softly, gently pushing the door open to step inside. On the hospital bed, my eyes were tightly shut, my face still looking incredibly pale and drained of color. And foredrip was hooked up to the back of my hand, and the clear, sterile fluid slowly dripped down, drop by agonizing drop. Hearing the soft sound of footsteps, my eyelashes fluttered slightly. I opened my eyes, and the moment I saw it was her, a flash of highly complex emotions flickered across my gaze. Partly pure shock, and partly something entirely different, before being quickly masked by a layer of frail weakness. "Didn't you have an incredibly important meeting to attend?" My voice sounded extremely raspy and weak. Deep within Xie Qian's eyes, a subtle, almost imperceptible gleam of suspicion flashed. Yet her tone remained unnaturally soft and gentle. "How on earth did you know about that?" Wait, is she starting to doubt him? Could the male lead have deliberately lured her away from that crucial bidding war? Our brilliant female lead was fully prepared, though. Even if she couldn't make it in person, her appointed proxy is absolute top tier. But seriously, the male lead just sheds a single tear, and she instantly comes running back like a loyal puppy. Honestly, I'm totally team confinement here. Who doesn't love a spicy, toxic kidnapping trope? I fully intended to explain everything clearly to Xie Qian. After all, in my current wiped memory, she was the only familiar face I actually knew. Earlier today, my phone received a highly suspicious text, telling me to find a way to keep you busy. It mentioned you had some make-or-break meeting scheduled. Xie Qian, you have to believe me. I literally have amnesia right now, even if we've never gotten along. I would absolutely never scheme with outsiders to sabotage you. Forget the fact that I don't even know who that woman is right now. Even if I did, I could never bring myself to wreck your career like that. Xie Qian was visibly moved by my words. If only things could just stay peaceful like this forever. She slowly reached out, attempting to take my phone. In the past, I would have panicked and gotten incredibly defensive. But this time I willingly grabbed my phone, unlocked it, and handed it straight over to her. Thank you, doctor. Can I go in and see him now? Yes, you may. But the patient needs absolute peace and quiet right now. Please keep your voice down. Xie Qian nodded softly and gently pushed the door open to step inside. Upon a hospital bed, I lay with my eyes closed, my complexion still looking incredibly pale and drained, within 4 needles securely tapped into the back of my hand. The crystal-clear saline solution slowly dripped down drop by drop through the tube. Hearing the soft sound of footsteps, my eyelashes trembled slightly. I opened my eyes, and the moment I saw her, a storm of highly complex emotions flashed through my gaze. Partly sheer surprise, and partly something entirely undefinable, which was quickly masked by a look of profound physical weakness. Didn't you have an exceptionally critical corporate meeting today? My voice sounded incredibly raspy and dry. Deep within Xie Qian's eyes, an almost imperceptible flicker of light gleamed for a split second, though her voice remained unbelievably, incredibly gentle. And how exactly did you know that? The second female lead is highly suspicious. The male lead could have deliberately faked this emergency, just to lure her away from the high-stakes bidding war. But the second female lead has already made preparations. Even if she isn't personally present, her proxy representative is an absolute force to be reckoned with. The male lead only has to shed a single tear, and the second female lead immediately runs to him like a devoted puppy. Honestly, I totally support her lock-and-key confinement era. I am living for this Yandere captivity plotline. I desperately wanted to explain the whole situation to Xie Qian. After all, in my current wipe-clean memory bank, Xie Qian was literally the only familiar anchor I had. My new phone received a highly suspicious text message today, telling me to distract you, because you apparently had some massive meeting scheduled. Xie Qian, you have to believe me. I am literally suffering from full-blown amnesia right now. Even if we don't get along as a couple, I would absolutely never conspire with an outsider to sabotage you, leaving aside the fact that I don't even know who that woman is. Even if I did, I could never bring myself to destroy your hard work like that. Xie Qian was visibly, deeply moved by my words. If only he could just stay like this forever. Xie Qian tentatively reached out to check my phone, an action that would have made the old me incredibly defensive and anxious. But this time, I willingly grabbed my own phone. So about that Yuan whoever girl, how exactly did I cross paths with her? Xie Qian's fingers unconsciously traced the edge of the metal bed frame, the icy chill of the metal seeping through her fingertips, her voice flat, entirely stripped of any discernible emotion. Yet, only she knew that the long-buried ache in her chest was starting to spark and smolder all over again. Yuan Dian was a graduate student at our university. After you broke your leg back then, I was the one who personally carried you to the campus clinic. She paused for a brief moment, as if she could still feel the heavy warmth of my weight leaning against her shoulder. All those years ago, and for every follow-up visit and bandage change, I was the one right by your side. However, by your final appointment, you had almost fully recovered, seeing that you could walk without any major issues. And because I had an urgent matter to attend to that day, I couldn't accompany you to the hospital. That was when you met her. Just a single absence. Just that one single time. She had been by my side every step of the way, never leaving. Yet all of it was completely undone by a single twist of fate, a seemingly random, coincidental encounter. That made Xiao Chun fall hopelessly in love with another woman, at absolute first sight. Even now, looking back, it still felt like a tiny, sharp thorn, deeply embedded in the most fragile part of her heart. And then what happened? I asked as if I were merely listening to some stranger's far-off story. That was when you started keeping secrets from me, she said. Every day, you'd sneak around, completely lost in your own world. My business project was at a critical make-or-break stage, leaving me so incredibly busy that my days and nights blurred together. By the time I finally had the time and energy to seek you out, you ran up to me and announced that you wanted to confess your love to Yuan Dian. A heavy silence descended upon the room, broken only by the faint, rhythmic hum of the medical equipment. Then, how on earth did the two of us end up married? My brows furrowed deeply as I repeated the burning question that had plagued my mind since waking up. The single most baffling, incomprehensible puzzle in my head. Later on, you discovered that Yuan Dian. Dian wasn't just playing around with you alone. More importantly, she already had an aristocratic fiancé arranged by her family. In a fit of heartbroken rage, you came to me for a shotgun marriage. Back then, you looked exactly like a pitiful, abandoned puppy. My heart completely melted, so I agreed. But Xie Qian was lying. The agonizing truth was that he had simply been her unrequited dream, that she was the one drowning in endless, bitter regret back then. So, basically, you gave me a pity chance, and I ended up becoming the homewrecker. I was literally turned into a third wheel. I abruptly bolted upright from my propped-up position, my voice cracking and raising several octaves from a mix of shock and sheer indignation, causing the needle on the back of my hand to tug violently and leave a sharp, stinging scratch. My initial reaction was absolute, utter disbelief, quickly followed by a wave of sheer absurdity so intense that I honestly had no idea what face I should even make. I had asked Xie Qian about those missing 6 years, not just to hear her side of the story, but even more so to see what the live comments would reveal. The main couple fell in love at first sight. Childhood. Friends can never, ever compete with the late arrival. The second female lead's loss was totally deserved. The female lead was just using everyone else, okay? Her feelings for the male lead are the only real ones. Oh please, the female lead flirts with everyone, and the male lead has completely ruined his life for her countless times. Yuan Dian is the heiress to the Yuan group. She has to deal with rival illegitimate siblings. So, of course, she had to secure her grip on power first. It was just a strategic move. The male lead was just a temporary distraction for her. Just a distraction. Then why didn't she call off her engagement to be with him? The male lead got dragged and labeled a homewrecker by everyone, and yet she still went into hiding. You call that true love? The comment section erupted into a chaotic, endless debate. Piece by piece, Xie Qian's words, though highly summarized, packed an immense amount of crucial context about Yuan Dian's actions over the past 6 years. And with that, I was finally able to piece together a crystal-clear picture of the past. When you boil it all down, it was just an incredibly cliché, agonizingly melodramatic story. She was a highly ambitious woman clawing her way to the top of her family dynasty, yet too greedy to let go of her romantic attachment to me. So, on one hand, she fed me empty promises of true love to keep me, completely wrapped around her finger, while on the other, she maintained an engagement that would yield her maximum corporate power and status. She wanted to have her cake and eat it too, right up until the truth exploded. I was left to take the fall and face the public's absolute wrath, while the very woman who claimed to love me unconditionally refused to take a single step forward to defend me. This entire plotline reads like a trashy, toxic soap opera. I seriously cannot comprehend what my past self was thinking. Could a fool like that really be me? This is absolutely not my style. How could I have been so damn naive? The drip finally ran dry, and I could finally get out of this hospital, stinking of antiseptic. My eyes were glued to that luxurious sedan, my pupils dilating with every passing second. Your car is absolutely stunning. I traced my fingers lightly over the glossy, polished door. 28 million? I spun around abruptly, my voice laced with a mix of longing and regret. If I hadn't run into that Yuan Dian back then, would I have successfully launched my own startup, raked in a mountain of cash, and bought myself a luxury mansion and a fancy sports car? I paused for a second, then exclaimed with a pout of cocky, spoiled entitlement. And maybe even have enough to keep a couple of models on the side? What side? What's that got to do with you? I just want to keep models. My beautiful youth was stolen for 6 whole years. 6 years, where I didn't even get to hold anyone's hand seriously. And the moment I wake up, I'm already tied to you. So what if I want to keep models? I just want to. As I was transferred, that fleeting moment of warmth vanished into thin air. Facing Xie Qian, I reverted back to my old, bratty behavior, blabbering whatever I wanted without a care as we headed home. I deliberately walked past her and opened the back door, stepping inside to take a seat, blatantly treating her like my personal chauffeur. Watching my childish, vibrant antics, that wave of nostalgia washed over Xie Yiqian once again. Her red lips curled upward involuntarily as she opened the back door and tried to haul me out. I rarely see Xie Yiqian act this childishly, so I went along with her tugging, letting her shove me into the passenger seat. Drive. Are you seriously treating me like your chauffeur? You should be honored to be this young master's driver. Xie Yiqian didn't say another word, as the sedan quietly melded into the night, heading straight for the Sierra Estate. Upon reaching home, I lay motionless in the passenger seat, letting Xie Yiqian foolishly try to pull me out. The household, maids waiting by the entrance of the Xie mansion, had never once seen their young mistress and master act this cozy. Usually, their interactions were either freezing cold or a violent clash of egos. But today, they both seemed to have completely flipped their personalities. One was playfully causing mischief, while the other smiled warmly, making it seem like the frosty relationship of this young couple was finally showing signs of a major thaw. Xie Yiqian looped her arm through mine as we walked down the corridor, heading straight toward the master bedroom, where she gently guided me to sit on the edge of the bed, while she stood there with a flustered, blushing face. This sudden wave of soft tenderness caught me completely off guard, prompting me to blurt out, "You've really changed quite a lot. Are you trying to call me old again? Don't forget, we're literally the exact same age. In fact, you're a whole week older than me. So, is this your roundabout way of saying I look aged? No way." Xie Yiqian turned around and walked toward the wardrobe, a soft, subtle smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "Go take a shower first." Wait, are we seriously sleeping in the same bed? My thoughts instantly veered into the gutter, as I imagined what wild things might go down after that shower, making me warily ask, "Really?" "Yes, and I might just collar you with a leash, just so you can't sneak out on me in the middle of the night. That's literally illegal confinement. I will call the cops." "Go ahead, dial them. We are legally married, after all. I'll just tell the officers. It's just a little role play between husband and wife. Do you really think they'll interfere? Xiao Chen, you are an absolute menace." By the time I walked out of the bathroom wearing nothing but my pajamas, Xie Yiqian was inexplicably flustered for a second, before she got up and scurried into the bathroom herself. Right then, the screen of the phone left on the nightstand lit up. "President Xie, the bidding results are out. We won. The Yuan group has been officially disqualified." Xie Yiqian quickly dried herself off after finishing her shower, and pushed the bathroom door open, only to find the master bedroom completely empty, with no sign of me anywhere. Xie Yiqian held her breath, her heart instantly plunging into an icy abyss. Did Xiao Chen deceive me again? Has he vanished from my life yet again? With a barely perceptible tremble in her voice, she called out, but there was absolutely no response. A dark, suffocating premonition threatened to completely overwhelm her. "Xiao Chen, where is everyone? Find a young master for me this instant." Right at that moment, a soft click echoed from the far end of the corridor. The guest room door creaked open as my voice drifted out. "Stop yelling." My face was completely scrunched up in sheer annoyance at being disturbed. My tone was incredibly grumpy as I snapped, "Are you summoning spirits in the dead of night? Are you going to let me sleep, or what?" Seeing that I was still safely inside, Xie Yiqian's racing heart finally settled. Looking at her disheveled, borderline frantic state, an unexpected wave of guilt suddenly washed over me. Before my soul entered this body, back when I broke my leg, Xie Yiqian was the one who had dragged me all the way to the campus clinic. Her mouth hadn't stopped scolding me. "Xiao Chen, this is exactly what you get for showing off. Serve you right." She had kept lecturing me relentlessly. "Now that your leg is fractured, why don't you keep showing off? Be careful, or you'll break the other one too." Before she could even finish, I had deliberately wiggled my leg, causing her to shut up instantly. The 20-year-old Xie Yiqian might have had a sharp tongue, but whenever I got into any kind of trouble, she was always the very first person to show up, no matter how trivial or utterly pointless the issue was. The 26-year-old Xie Yiqian treated me with absolute coldness. Yet she still cared for me deep down. My mind was still stuck in my youth, so I didn't share her maturity and spoke completely without filter. "You secretly love me, don't you?" It wasn't even a question, and I didn't hesitate. My tone was just too incredibly confident. Xie Qian's footsteps ground to a sudden halt. Secretly love you. In your dreams. Get back to our room. You're not staying here. The comment section exploded once again. I quickly scrolled through the chaotic wall of text, but found absolutely no useful clues. Nor did I have the mental energy to dig any deeper right now. Xie Qian was already standing right in front of me. Are you walking back yourself? Or do I need to have my men carry you? Her gaze was icy cold, and her words weren't a negotiation. They were an absolute command. I looked away guiltily, muttering under my breath, I'm just going to sleep in a guest room. I'm not running away. Besides, I have zero interest in someone as skinny as you. At that, I instinctively looked down at myself. I was indeed painfully thin, looking almost sickly. For a split second, I caught a flash of deep agony in her eyes. As if by hurting me, she was simultaneously tearing herself apart. Then why on earth do you insist on keeping me chained to you? I know all too well that too much drama went down over these past few years, and that the freezing cold way she treats both of us is directly tied to all of it. Tied to those precious memories I completely lost, isn't it? Before our marriage, you were endlessly entangled, with Yuan Dian behaving like an absolute mess, making yourself look completely pathetic, and barely even human anymore. Even after we wed, I initially granted you absolute freedom. But after your very first secret rendezvous with her, you came home throwing a wild 3-day tantrum, demanding a divorce. I refused, but I didn't stop you from going to see her either. I even quietly assigned bodyguards to protect you from the shadows. The next time I laid eyes on you, you were weeping hysterically on my doorstep, sobbing that Yuan Dian and her fiancé were officially getting married. You repeatedly got yourself severely injured, all for her sake. I almost forgot to tell you that back then. She already had an official fiancé, yet despite being engaged, she kept stringing you along, using your connections to steal countless lucrative contracts from the Xie Group, sucking the lifeblood right out of us just to build her own corporate empire. She never had any intention of keeping her promise to marry you, and didn't even break off her engagement. Meanwhile, you were so utterly obsessed that you kept self-harming for her, even overdosing on sleeping pills in a pathetic bid to end it all. Heck, when her precious childhood friend desperately needed an organ transplant, you actually volunteered to donate yours to him. Thankfully, I intervened, locked you up at home, and kept you safe. If I hadn't, you wouldn't just be looking incredibly thin right now. You'd be rotting in a grave as nothing but a pile of bones. From that moment on, I had guards watching you 24/7, locking you in our bedroom every single night to sleep right beside me. I will never let you run away from me. Wait, that was actually me. Isn't this guy a complete and utter clown? Could that pathetic loser really be me? The more I listened, the more horrified my expression became, plunging me into a massive crisis of existential self-doubt. Is the author of this trashy novel's worldview completely twisted or what? I genuinely could not relate to this past version of myself at all. But then again, I didn't let it get to me too much. Since I had lost all those memories anyway, I quickly tried to defend myself. Well, none of that matters because I've completely forgotten it all now. Just in case your memories suddenly trigger and you start acting suicidal and hysterical all over again, you are coming back to our bedroom with me. Don't even think about fighting me on this. I have absolutely zero romantic interest in you anyway. I finally gave in, deeply moved by the realization that she had never once abandoned me through all those painful years. Xie Qian might have an incredibly sharp tongue, but she was essentially the one irreplaceable family member who had stuck by me through thick and thin. Fine, whatever. To be honest, looking at myself right now, I wouldn't be interested either. Xie Qian guided me back to the master bedroom, expertly looping the metallic chain to lock us together. She was a woman of her word, instantly turning to sleep on her side of the bed. But sleep completely eluded me. Hey, Xie Qian, this bed is seriously comfy. Xie Qian, exhausted from a grueling day and twice shaken by panic, merely murmured back, just go to sleep. The next morning, the faint, metallic clinking sound echoed with sharp clarity through the otherwise silent bedroom. Xie Qian was the first to move, keeping her motions incredibly gentle. Yet the metallic rattle still managed to seep into the depths of my waking consciousness. Ugh, so noisy. I don't have any classes this morning. Can't you just let me get a decent sleep? I muttered, instinctively burying my face deeper into the pillow. Get up and eat breakfast first. The woman's voice drifted over. If you still want to sleep, you can go back to bed right after you've eaten. I kept my eyes shut, my groggy brain desperately trying to process. Why on earth is there a woman in my dorm room? In the very next instant, the scattered pieces of reality snapped together, and I bolted upright as if I had been badly burned. Well, your memory isn't completely shot, I see. At least you still remember you don't have morning classes. I didn't offer a reply, sitting frozen on the bed, as I sank into an even deeper state of confusion and intense contemplation. Everything from 6 years ago felt like it had just happened yesterday. Yet this strange woman, combined with the unfamiliar, hollow sensation of my own body, was silently telling me that 6 long years had indeed passed. This makes absolutely no sense. It's highly unnatural. Amnesia makes you forget things. But how could I remember my distant past with such vivid, crystal clarity, while completely blanking out on the 6-year gap in between? A wilder, far more sci-fi-esque theory uncontrollably began to take root in my mind. Could it be that I have actually time traveled? Head downstairs for breakfast. Eat in moderation today. Don't gorge yourself like yesterday and end up right back in the ER. I let out a low, absent-minded grunt, my eyes tracking her slender silhouette as she walked out. The bedroom door was quietly shut from the outside. I suddenly collapsed backward, pulling the heavy blanket completely over my head, retreating into the darkness, to continue wrestling with that mind-blowing, terrifying theory. Apologies. I arrived a bit late. My entire body went completely rigid, and I instantly whipped the blanket down, my sharp, panicked eyes scanning every single corner of the empty room. Who's there? Who the hell is in here? Greetings, Xiao Chun. I am not physically in this room. I am currently inside your mind. Inside my head. Wait. Schizophrenia. The first stage of hallucination. I completely lost my composure. Flinging the blanket aside, I leaped out of the bed, bolting out of the bedroom on bare feet, and clutching my head as I dashed down the stairs, desperately trying to outrun the bizarre voice echoing in my skull. Xie Qian, who was having breakfast in the dining room, heard my terrified shriek. She instantly dropped her utensils and rushed toward the grand staircase, colliding head-on with me just as she took her first few steps up. What's wrong? Her sharp gaze immediately scanned my pale, deathly white face, as if grasping onto a literal lifeline. I desperately grabbed her hands, the words tumbling out of my mouth at lightning speed, while my voice visibly trembled. I heard a strange voice. It literally told me it's inside my head. Xie Yaqian, am I actually losing my mind? Is it schizophrenia? Hallucinations? What on earth are you talking about? And why aren't you making any sound? Xie Qian merely furrowed her brows, looking at me in utter confusion. My frantic words suddenly ground to a screeching halt. Are you deaf? Here I am, caring about you. And you have a nerve to call me deaf. The voice echoed with piercing clarity directly in my ears. Xie Qian's expression turned incredibly cold, looking utterly betrayed. I just poured my heart out explaining all of this. And you didn't hear a single word? Are you actually deaf? Wow, your hearing is actually pretty sharp. I was both utterly panicked and furious, my sheer anger temporarily overriding my terror. You genuinely didn't make a single sound just now. First amnesia, then hallucinations, and now he's showing clear signs of aphasia. Realizing she couldn't afford to waste another second, she urged, "Let's go. We are heading straight to the hospital right now." Right at that crucial moment, that very same voice echoed in my head once more, offering a soothing reassurance. "Dear host, do not be alarmed. I am no creep, nor are you suffering from a severe case of schizophrenia. I am actually System 0137. System 0137. My frantic struggling instantly ground to a halt. My chaotic, racing thoughts suddenly dragged into a completely wild and unexpected direction by this bizarre term. I instinctively repeated the name in my mind. Precisely, host. System 0137's voice was completely flat, devoid of any emotional inflection. I apologize. I was originally supposed to introduce myself yesterday, but head office called an emergency meeting. I was only just able to establish a stable connection with you now. Furthermore, please keep in mind that you cannot directly mention my existence in front of any other human beings. Any related words will be automatically censored by the system. We can, however, communicate directly while you are in the bathroom. It is much safer and prevents others from assuming you have completely lost your mind. So that's how it is. It wasn't that Xie Qian was suddenly going deaf. It was just that my words were being systematically blocked. The realization hit me like a lightning bolt, causing my frayed nerves to miraculously relax, as a strange, tingling curiosity began to bubble up inside me. 0137 sound a lot like the last digits of a phone number. I muttered dryly within my own consciousness. System 0137 fell dead silent for a brief moment, and then a highly expressive emoji was projected directly into my mind's eye. It can even send emojis? My eyes widened in absolute shock, and I nearly shrieked out loud in the real world. Xiao Chun, Xiao Chun. Xie Qian's frantic shouting instantly dragged me back to reality. She was staring at the rapidly changing expressions on my face, the sheer anxiety in her chest reaching an absolute fever pitch. Yesterday, it was severe amnesia. Today, it's aphasia coupled with vivid hallucinations. And now he's just staring blankly into thin air, with a bizarre expression, with his symptoms stacking up. The outlook was looking incredibly grim. Are you all right? We need to get you to the hospital this very instant. I snapped completely out of my daze, and seeing the raw, unshielded panic and fierce determination in her eyes, I hurriedly waved my hands in dismissal, desperately trying to force a perfectly normal expression onto my face. I'm fine, really. I'm completely fine. I was just experiencing some extreme morning crankiness. That's all. My mind was honestly just a bit of chaotic mess. Let's grab breakfast. I'm starving. Xie Qian remained half skeptical, but we finished our meal. Before she headed off to work, she placed a call to our family doctor. While the family doctor was giving me a thorough checkup, a middle-aged man suddenly burst into the room, weeping hysterically. Young master, please, I beg you, plead with the young mistress for me. Tell her not to fire me. With my mind currently stuck at the age of 20, how could I bear to watch an elder literally kneeling down right in front of me? I hurriedly reached out to support him. Please stand up first. Let's talk about this. Calmly. Young master, I have elderly parents to support at home, and my 2 kids are currently putting themselves through college. I absolutely cannot afford to lose this job. Meanwhile, the head bodyguard promptly reported the situation inside the mansion to Xie Qian. The phone number was literally changed just yesterday. Yet Yuan Diandian obtained the new details within the exact same day. There's indeed a traitor leaking info from inside the estate. Yuan Diandian has been keeping a close eye on our corporate moves, while simultaneously playing hot and cold with Xiao Chun, deliberately stringing him along. Did she honestly think I, Xie Qian, was just some brainless puppet? Once I heard the full scope of what this man had actually done, every single drop of sympathy in my heart instantly evaporated. Keeping a double-crossing, disloyal rat by our side was no different from sitting on a ticking time bomb. It was incredibly hazardous. If you can sell out Xie Qian today, you can easily sell out someone else tomorrow. Today, it's just leaking private information. But tomorrow, who knows if you'll put someone's literal life in danger. The Xie family has absolutely no use for someone like you. We will settle your final pay according to standard market regulations. But if you keep causing a scene, I will personally sue you for breaching corporate policy and demand full financial damages. The bodyguard relayed my words verbatim, not missing a single syllable to Xie Qian. Hearing this, the icy armor on Xie Qian's face slowly began to melt away. The family doctor's examination results eventually confirmed that there was nothing seriously wrong with my body, aside from being severely underweight. Xie Qian's overall mood completely brightened up. This was easily the happiest day she had experienced in years. I truly hope that this time, with his amnesia, Xiao Chun keeps up this act for just a little while longer. But regardless, I will absolutely never let him slip through my fingers again. Xiao Chun seems to have genuinely forgotten everything. If so, then let him forget it forever and stay by my side for eternity, willingly remaining right here with me. Back in the bedroom, I lay down and initiated a direct dialogue with the system inside my head. 0137. Can we change the serial number of a name? Anyone who didn't know better would think a delivery package just arrived. Of course. How would you prefer me to address myself, sir? First off, drop the sir. I still consider myself pretty young. And can you adjust your tone of voice a bit? It's way too robotic and incredibly cold. Understood. Adjustments can easily be made. How about a cheerful, friendly personality type host? Fine, just don't sound like a brainless customer service bot. Otherwise, I'll completely lose any desire to chat with you. As for your name, why don't you start by explaining your core functions? I am dispatched from the male lead department. My primary directive is to rescue the male lead. Simply put, I am here to bail you out. Wait, what exactly do I need rescuing from? Is it Xie Qian keeping me locked up? Or Yuan Dian constantly breaking my heart? Host, there's a crucial matter I must disclose first. You need to brace yourself mentally. The reality we currently occupy is actually a web novel. Yeah, I already know that. Wait, how do you know? That should be impossible. I only just arrived and haven't explained a thing. Did another character spill the beans to you? And did you actually just believe them on the spot? Actually, that doesn't make sense either. Is there something you want to get off your chest? I can literally see the user comments floating around. Is this some kind of system glitch on your end? Or what? A total slip-up. I was summoned back for a seminar yesterday and accidentally left the comment feed display toggled on. So, you've been using these live comments to piece together the lore of this world. Not quite. The commenters spend all day either playing card games or aggressively bickering with one another. Useful info has been incredibly scarce. All I know is that I'm a pathetic, love-struck male lead. Xie Qian is the villainous female lead. And there's a female lead who is utterly addicted to cheating. Hey, please don't describe yourself in such a tragic way. A male lead must be confident, fierce, and strong. This entire universe was literally created just for you. The female lead and the second female lead definitely deserve some serious, harsh criticism. Are you absolutely positive I'm the center of this universe? If so, then why on earth do all the resources, influence, and major plot armor belong entirely to the female lead? Look at me, I'm practically a walking skeleton right now. Even my own bones feel extremely uncomfortable when I move. This is because the source material is an incredibly outdated novel. Back then, brutal psychological torture, endless angst, and ruining families were all the rage. But that toxic genre has completely fallen out of favor nowadays. The novel's universe has already been reset and looped multiple times. Yet during the last few iterations, this pocket world began to spiral completely off its tracks, especially in the last loop, where the second female lead completely snapped, turned villainous, and attacked the main heroine, before ultimately ending her own life right in front of you. With the central cast wiped out, the world was forced to initiate a hard reboot. And in this current cycle, the villainous's behavior is once again showing highly anomalous patterns. Whoa, hold on a second. What did you just say? I ended up dead. If I'm supposed to be the main character, why the heck am I the one biting the dust? Who's actually the center of this world anyway? Is the female lead the author's precious golden child, while the male lead is just some adopted punching bag? Why do I have to die? Is my death some kind of absolute rule? If I'm going down, I'm definitely dragging Yuan Dian. That manipulative gold digger, straight to hell with me first. Warning, host's mental stability is fluctuating wildly. Please calm down, host. Our system's entire purpose is to guide you, helping you secure a truly happy ending. If your grand plan is to force me back into the original plot, just so I can end up with Yuan Dian, for some happily ever after, I would honestly rather go take her out right now. Who would that kind of nauseating ending even satisfy? Whoever actually likes that toxic girl can go ahead and spend the rest of their miserable life with her. Please compose yourself. Our male lead department possesses top-tier authorization. Besides, that outdated, angsty trash style is no longer trendy. You have the absolute freedom to forge your own path. You can choose to elevate the second female lead to the main heroine, or you can embark on a glorious, zero-romance, solo protagonist route. Now, that actually sounds reasonable. I want a satisfying, happy ending for myself. So, I'm going to name you Duan Yuan, meaning reunion. What do you think? Understood, host. Our ultimate, shared objective is absolute, pure happiness. Here's to a highly successful partnership going forward. You still haven't explained what specific functions you actually possess. How exactly do you plan on helping me? Also, this live comment feature of yours is honestly as much of a curse as it is a blessing. Those people literally argue 24/7, and it is incredibly annoying. My deepest apologies, host. I will disable it immediately. In the future, if you ever wish to view it again, you can manually toggle the settings whenever you are in the bathroom. Your main directive is to complete the primary storyline and maximize your overall happiness progression index. Each time you hit a major milestone, you will unlock highly lucrative phase rewards. The ultimate grand prize waiting for you at the end is grow old together. And even if you choose a zero romance path, you can still secure a peaceful, long life of absolute solitude. Wait, is growing old with someone really considered a grand prize? What if my luck completely tanks, and the partner I choose ends up stabbing me in the back? Then you are free to swap them out for someone else at any given moment. Whoever you select next will automatically inherit. The criteria for that ultimate grand prize. The male lead system will always put your interests above all else. Okay, I can definitely get behind that. But I still have one glaring question. Just 2 days ago, I was still a carefree college student. How on earth did I suddenly skip ahead to being married for 4 years? Explain that. Regarding this matter, please hear my defense. Please allow me to explain. Right when this story was initiated, I had to transfer your consciousness to headquarters for a neural sync. Naturally, standard novel characters are completely wiped of any memories regarding headquarters. However, upgrading my system took far longer than anticipated. We were originally supposed to return to this world 6 years ago, but a severe network lag delayed my headquarters upgrade process. As you know, 1 day at headquarters equals an entire year in this pocket world. I desperately tried to roll back our entry point, hoping to land at least right around the time you got married. But the system failed to roll back, and we ended up dropping in an even worse timeline, one where you're already physically and emotionally devastated. So, I'm a college student, and it turns out you were practically one too. Talk about highly unreliable. What on earth were you even upgrading anyway? Well, I am indeed a system that just graduated from the academy this year, and you happen to be my very first official host. What? Are you seriously telling me you're a complete rookie? Can I actually trust you to get things right? Honestly, even I wouldn't place too much faith in myself just yet. Great. Now I'm seriously starting to question your basic competence. But I have complete faith in you. I truly believe you are destined to achieve absolute happiness. Let me ask you this. Since 6 years of my life suddenly vanished, did I even physically exist during that 6-year gap? Yet, this world clearly has a version of me, and things have been playing out exactly in accordance with the novel's original plot. Those 6 years were processed entirely by this world's background engine, a state commonly referred to as autoplay mode. If the system can literally just run on autoplay, then what on earth do you even need me here for? Theoretically speaking, the narrative of this web novel dictates that I was destined to follow this exact pathetic trajectory anyway. The autoplay mode simply executed that exact program. So, what is the actual difference between me and that bot? Furthermore, the actions taken by that version of me completely contradict my actual personality. It is absolutely nothing like what I would ever do in real life. The difference is that a body running on autoplay registers 0 physical pain when harmed, possesses absolutely no genuine emotions, and has 0 independent thoughts. But you have all of those. If I actually have independent thoughts, then why on earth would I ever commit such utterly brain-dead acts? That is definitely not me. There is absolutely no way that was me. For others, playing out their pre-written script is all they get. But you are entirely different, host. Your beginning and your ultimate ending are completely free from plot control. You can live your life exactly how you see fit. Only that specific middle chunk was forced to comply with a narrative. A hollow shell puppet by some external force. That is absolutely, definitely not who I am. It's nothing more than a mindless marionette, living out a script written by someone else. It's not like I actually chose to behave that way. The person depicted in that forced storyline is a completely different entity from who I actually am. His mindset and his pathetic way of handling things are completely beyond my comprehension, and I could never replicate them. To make me do stupid things over and over again. Fine, maybe once or twice would make sense. But there's no way I'd be that incredibly foolish every single time. It is actually completely normal for you to feel like the person in that script isn't the real you. The entity bound by the rigid constraints of the plot was never your true, authentic self to begin with. Only when you're living your life out of your own free will does it represent who you truly are. Well, regardless of what you say, I am absolutely not claiming those 6 lost years as mine. It's too humiliating. I'm not that brainless. But hey, what are your actual abilities anyway? My primary ability allows us to rewind time up to 3 times. Then take me back right now to 6 years ago. Let's restart the entire campaign from there. Unfortunately, the time rewind ability only works for very brief intervals. Fine, whatever. Let's just keep that skill in reserve for now. So, what are the milestone rewards for the main quest line? And since you called it a main quest line, that implies there are side quests available too, right? Indeed, the milestone rewards are mystery loot boxes. Even I have no idea what they contain until they are opened. Side quests will trigger randomly, depending on the specific characters you interact with. You have absolute freedom to accept or decline them. Actually sounds pretty interesting. Meanwhile, the Xia Corporation successfully secured the massive bid, landing a highly lucrative, zero-risk project. This meant that the Xia Corporation had completely pulled ahead of the fierce competition and was poised for an unprecedented breakthrough. Upon hearing the news, Yuan Dian locked herself inside the Yuan corporate headquarters that night, up in the CEO's office on the top floor. She was entirely alone in the darkness. The bidding results notification email remained open on her computer screen, cold and unforgiving. Every single word felt like a sharp needle piercing her eyes. She slowly stood up and walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing out at the city's dazzling, vibrant night skyline. The prime piece of land she was so utterly confident she'd secure now seemed to mock her absolute incompetence. In a fit of blind rage, she began violently smashing everything in sight. After throwing her tantrum, she stood panting heavily amidst the wreckage of her office, her long hair disheveled and wild. Her sweat-soaked bangs clung messily to her forehead. Suddenly, her phone screen lit up, displaying an incoming call from her fiancé, Chi Ibai. She didn't answer. She simply stared blankly at the flashing name, her eyes turning incredibly dark and cold. 3 months ago, in order to secure both this government contract and a massive 500 million investment from the Chi family, Yuan Dian had signed a high-stakes agreement with Chi Ibai. If the project succeeded, the Chi family would receive a lucrative 15% stake in her company. But with the project's total failure, she now had to repay both the principal and interest at a crushing 20% interest rate over the next 3 years, using 8 of her personal founder's shares as collateral. To make matters worse, she had also signed a ruthless bet with her father, Yuan Thing Dai. Even though Yuan Feng Tai had technically stepped away from the front lines, he was still the true puppet master behind scenes, a man who only respected cutthroat results and cared nothing for family ties. He already had numerous children, including several illegitimate heirs waiting in the wings. With this devastating defeat, Yuan Dian's status in the family was now completely on the verge of collapse. The following morning, Yuan Dian desperately tried to compose herself and salvage whatever she could from the wreckage. She frantically contacted several small to medium tech startups that had previously shown interest in partnering with her. She immediately pushed forward with several minor tech projects, hoping these quick, short-term victories would somehow restore her father's trust. Right at noon, Chi Ibai's father, Xi Jinping, called her exactly as she had feared. After a barrage of harsh threats and heavy pressuring, the call finally ended. The fake smile on Yuan Dian's face vanished instantly, replaced by a terrifyingly dark glare. A few seconds later, she violently slammed her phone down onto her newly replaced desk. That old fox. How dare he? Every single one of them is trying to kick me while I'm down. Meanwhile, having successfully secured the massive government project, Xie Qian became busier than ever. Yet, no matter how overwhelmed she was with work, she would immediately stop to check the hourly updates sent by the bodyguards regarding my status back at the mansion. 3 hours, and he still hasn't stepped foot out of his room? Xie Qian, who always kept her focus locked on me, felt a sudden wave of unease, intuitively sensing that something was off. A silent child is definitely up to no good. She immediately instructed the guards at the mansion to go knock on my door and check on what the young master was doing. Young master? Are you in there? I'm just playing video games. What's the matter? The young master is just gaming inside. There is no issue. Hearing my voice over the line, Xie Qian's racing heart finally calmed down. Over the next several days, Xie Qian spent her days grinding away at the company, while I remained locked away in the mansion, gaming. Whenever I requested to go outside during this time, Xie Qian would promptly shoot down my requests. In the evenings, the two of us were bound together by a sturdy gold chain, lying at opposite ends of a massive bed, separated by over a meter. The only real annoyance was my desperate attempt to quickly pack on some weight. I was cramming extra meals down my throat every single day. Even right before knocking out, I'd still be eating and drinking, which meant my late-night bathroom trips constantly woke Xie Yiqian up. Waking up mid-sleep only made Xie Yiqian's insomnia and exhaustion much worse. After some time, a quiet rumor began spreading, all throughout the office corridors of the Xie Corporation, that I had been absolutely exhausting their formidable CEO, leaving the young mistress completely drained. Meanwhile, Yuan Dian was desperately trying to claw back her father's trust, keeping herself frantically busy partnering up with minor tech startups. As for being utterly humiliated and blocked by me at the bidding venue, she had originally been completely furious, but she convinced herself that I had actually complied in the end, successfully holding back Xie Qian and preventing her from entering the main hall. She foolishly believed I still carried a torch for her in my heart, and that I was merely throwing a childish tantrum. Too bad her own inside operatives were utterly incompetent. Even with Xie Qian delayed, they still managed to blow the entire bid. Later on, when she discovered I had been hospitalized, she assumed it was to help her and immediately sent a flurry of concerned text messages. I completely ignored them. She then assumed my personal freedom was being heavily restricted, making it impossible for me to reach out, so she kept spamming texts to my old phone number. To keep tabs, since transmigrating, I had already been stuck in this bizarre world for half a month. Any initial sense of novelty and excitement had long since been eroded by these mind-numbing days of total confinement. Every single time I opened my eyes, I was greeted by the exact same luxurious yet utterly lifeless bedroom. I'd scroll through short clips to watch other people actually living their lives, scrolling so much that my finger joints felt stiff and incredibly sore. Sprawled out lazily across the mattress, I tossed my phone aside and summoned the system. Hey, Yuan, are those main and side quests ever going to trigger or what? I literally can't interact with a single soul. Just staying cooped up in here, gaming all day, is about to give me severe tendinitis. Host, what if we secretly sneak out of here on the down low? Wait, if we escape, wouldn't that play directly into the original plot? Isn't it? In the original novel, doesn't Xie Yiqian lock me up, only for me to desperately escape, get absolutely destroyed by Yuan Dian, and then get dragged right back here by Xie Yiqian? And besides, my body is incredibly weak right now. If I'm not careful, I might literally drop dead out there. You have a very solid point. You should focus on rebuilding your strength first. After all, your health is your greatest asset. No matter what quest you pursue, you'll need a resilient physique to pull it off. Oh, that's right. Speaking of prioritizing your health, host, if you can successfully restore your weight back to a healthy, normal baseline, it will officially be recognized as completing the very first milestone of your ultimate Epiness quest. Wait, what did you just say? Just taking proper care of my own body counts as clearing a quest objective. Exactly. In order to secure a truly happy ending, your physical and mental well-being is absolute step number one. So, what exactly is the benchmark for being healthy? At the very least, your vitals must meet standard medical benchmarks, with absolutely no underlying illnesses. For you specifically, that means packing on some serious weight. Man, I've been grinding for half a month and only managed to gain 3 or 4 pounds. Host, your height is 188 centimeters. You need to weigh at least 70 kilograms. Anything below that threshold is considered severely underweight. I looked down at my emaciated frame and nodded in silent agreement. Tossing my phone onto the bed, I resolved to start eating much more starting today. I quickly rushed downstairs to find Annie Wong. Annie Wong, starting today, please whip up some incredibly hearty, calorie-dense meals to help me bulk up. Basically, if it's packed with nutrients, make it. Don't you worry, young master. I will absolutely nurse you back to peak, robust health. However, it seemed my instructions were hilariously misunderstood. At the dinner table that evening, I stared at a massive feast of rich, savory delicacies and began devouring them. Like a man possessed, Xie Qian's eyes slowly swept across the dining table. Charcoal-grilled oysters, a perfectly seared medium-rare steak, tender, freshly caught deep-sea fish, soft scrambled eggs with vibrant green chives, and a pot of ultra-potent restorative soup. Right next to it sat a warm cup of goji berry tea. The implications of this specific menu were incredibly hard to ignore. Young mistress, the young master, gave me special instructions this afternoon, requesting that I prepare nothing but highly rejuvenating meals from now on, to boost his stamina, vital energy, and overall health. The young master's being so incredibly thoughtful. The corner of Xie Qian's lips twitched in utter disbelief. She stared at me while I remained completely oblivious, focused entirely on eating, slurping down an oyster from its shell with one hand, while using the other to stuff a juicy piece of steak into my mouth. Xie Qian closed her eyes, rubbing her temples, gently dismissing Annie Wong. Inside the dining room, the only remaining sound was the clatter of silverware, and my own satisfying, enthusiastic chewing. Is it delicious? Absolutely incredible. Annie Wong's culinary skills are top tier. Especially this soup. It's phenomenal. I let out a satisfied burp, completely abandoning all table manners. Xie Qian stared intensely at me, realizing my eyes held nothing but pure, unadulterated appreciation for the food. Absolutely nothing else. She suddenly realized that her suspicious thoughts from earlier were entirely a case of her overthinking things. Picking up her chopsticks, she regained her cool composure and joined the meal. You'd better start eating quickly. There's so much food here. If you don't dig in, I'm going to devour the entire spread myself. With that, I eagerly ladled myself another massive bowl of soup, utterly determined to crush my weight gain objective tonight. Watching me feast like a ravenous beast, Xie Qian's eyelids twitched once again as she casually offered a warning. Slow down. If you keep stuffing your face like that, your fragile stomach won't be able to handle it, and you'll end up right back in a hospital bed. No worries at all. I was secretly celebrating inside, calculating exactly how many ounces of mass this feast would add to my frame. Duan Yuan was also actively tracking my caloric intake, assuring me we were still far below any dangerous levels. I totally know my limits, I replied, eagerly grabbing another serving of chives. Seeing me enjoy my meal with such infectious energy, Xie Qian ended up eating much more than usual as well. Late that night, lying on a massive bed barely a meter away from me, her body temperature felt slightly higher than normal, and her thoughts began to drift. Recently, Yi Chen's overall demeanor made it truly seem as though he had wiped his mind of the past few years. Everything that had transpired between us didn't look like some elaborate, calculated act. This level of detachment and genuine calmness couldn't possibly be fake for this long, nor could it feel this remarkably authentic. Xie Qian's racing thoughts involuntarily drifted back to the years before she turned 20, back to that bright, untainted era of their youth. The feelings she thought had long since withered away and died, when facing this version of him, seemed to be quietly resurrecting under the guise of his amnesia. That dormant, restless heart of hers was once again beating with a fierce, burning warmth. Of course, I had absolutely no idea about the chaotic turmoil brewing inside her mind. Initially, I had been fiercely opposed to sharing a room, let alone sleeping in the exact same bed with her. But after half a month of cohabitating, I gradually became absolutely convinced that Xie Qian simply wanted to prevent me from contacting Yuan Dian. Dian, while trying to guarantee my safety. Aside from that protective instinct, she didn't seem to harbor any hidden, malicious motives. This intense regime of eating and bulking went on for a solid week. Because of the massive amounts of food I consumed daily, my weight began to shoot up noticeably. My previously emaciated arms and legs finally started to fill out with a healthy layer of flesh. One fine morning, I stealthily stepped onto the scale, and watched the dial lock in right at 55 kilograms. A triumphant, satisfied grin spread across my face. I checked myself out in the mirror, admiring my progress from left to right. However, for Xie Qian, who was witnessing my physical rebound firsthand, a quiet, restless fire was slowly beginning to ignite inside her. At first, it was just her tossing and turning, unable to sleep at night. After all, her physical health was incredibly robust. But soon, it escalated into a torturous, burning craving. She would frequently snap awake in the dead of night, forced to use the faint, dim moonlight to silently watch me as I slept peacefully right beside her. And I, of course, was completely oblivious to all of this, gazing at my totally vulnerable, unguarded sleeping form, the raging fire burning deep within her chest, ultimately dissolved into a sigh of sheer helplessness. Sigh. I still need to take things slow. She couldn't bear to wake me from my deep, peaceful slumber, nor did she want to freeze herself in a cold shower just to force her urges down. And she certainly couldn't bring herself to explain this tension to me. On yet another silent night, that familiar, stifling heat surged back even more intensely than before. Xie Qian broke out into a light sweat. She quietly threw off the heavy blanket, using the key to unlock the golden chain around my wrist. Mumbling in my sleep, I rolled over right into the center of the bed, pressing myself flush against the smooth skin of her arm. She practically bolted from the bed, fleeing to the bathroom, in a desperate bid to wash away her chaotic, wild desires. When I finally woke up the next morning, I had absolutely no clue about the dramatic struggle that had occurred last night. As usual, I got dressed and headed downstairs to grab some breakfast. Xie Qian stared at my increasingly healthy, glowing complexion, feeling a wave of genuine warmth and joy swell in her heart. Xie Qian, I'm literally dying of boredom here. I really need to go outside. Besides, I seriously think I need to get a job. Just rotting inside your house every single day, getting fattened up like a pig, is really not a good look. Hearing me compare myself to livestock like that, Xie Qian couldn't help but let out a soft chuckle. Ichin was still exactly the same as he was back then, viciously brutal, even when roasting himself. Look, I know you're dead set against letting me go outside, but I am literally growing mold sitting around this house. I am no longer that pathetic version of Yi-chun, who would willingly throw his entire life away over some toxic woman. I am the ambitious 20-year-old Yi-chun. I want to strive for success, work hard, and stay positive and optimistic. I want to get an actual job. Honestly, literally any job will do. Even if I don't know the ropes, I can easily learn as I go. I refuse to let you keep me locked up in this house forever. It makes me feel like a caged pet, not an actual human being. Host, you are absolutely crushing this. This is your true, authentic self. Being bound by that trash plot was never who you really were. Just look at how the comment section is hyping you up. I simply want to be the sole master of my own destiny. I don't need to achieve anything mind-blowing, but I must have the absolute right to make my own choices and pursue the things I actually want to pursue. And right now, what I want is to get a job, reintegrate into society, and regain my independence. Seeing Ichan finally acting like the man she had sorely missed for years. Fine, you can work as my personal assistant. You will shadow me every single day. Wait, is there seriously no other option? Xie Qian's expression instantly soured, her cheeks puffing up in annoyance. What's with that look? What's with that reaction? What's with the attitude? All right, I get it. I accept, okay? But having to be stuck by your side, literally 24/7, is going to drive me crazy. Are you happy now that I've spelled it out? Can you blame me for not trusting you? What if you use work as a convenient excuse to secretly run back to that Yuan Dian girl, ruin your life all over again, and force me to come bail you out yet again? Her words suddenly reminded me of what Duan Yuan had told me earlier. In the previous cycle, after she finally dealt with Yuan Dian, she chose to die right alongside me. To be honest, I never truly believed Xie Qian could actually love me. After all, our relationship had always been pretty standard. I mean, we can't even get through breakfast without bickering. During the first 25 years of our lives, this kind of banter was a regular occurrence. We couldn't exchange 2 sentences without bickering, and we couldn't bicker twice before making up again. I honestly found it incredibly hard to imagine why she would ever make such a tragic decision in the end. Could it be that Xie Qian also suffered from the exact same issue as Yuan Diandian, only realizing her true feelings and regretting everything once the person was gone? Oh, I get it now. If you want me to be your assistant, then so be it. The sleek black luxury sedan pulled up smoothly at the entrance of the Xie Corporation, causing nearby employees to instinctively slow their pace. As the car door swung open, the first person to step out was their notoriously cold and aloof CEO, but everyone's attention was immediately snatched by me, standing right by her side, captivating the crowd. Xie Yiqian completely ignored the intense, burning stares, focused on us, and walked directly with me, hand in hand, straight toward the CEO's private elevator. As soon as the doors closed, uncontrollable whispers erupted instantly. The more daring employees quickly whipped out their phones, sending rapid-fire updates to the Xie Corporation gossip group chat. What's the latest scoop? The special assistant, President Xie, just walked in with an incredibly handsome man. Is that Yichun? The same Yichun who is always notoriously unstable and completely obsessed with Yuan Diandian. Why would Xie Yiqian ever bring him to the office? The doors to the private executive elevator slid open on the top floor. Xie Yiqian stepped out first, with me following closely behind. The high-level executives on the floor were instantly dumbfounded. Assistant in my office. Now, right away, President Xie. The assistant quickly snapped out of her daze and hurried after us. Good morning, President Xie, young master. What are your instructions for today? Before Xie Yiqian could even utter a word, I looked up, wearing an expression of sheer excitement that felt totally out of place. Could you please set up a workspace for me? Starting today, I am officially on the clock. The assistant wondered if she was having auditory hallucinations. Otherwise, why on earth would she hear the CEO's notorious husband, the very man who constantly brought absolute chaos to this company, declaring so enthusiastically that he was actually joining the workforce? To her, this sounded like absolute doom and disaster. She instinctively darted her eyes toward Xie Yiqian, silently pleading for some sort of official confirmation. Xie Yiqian gave an almost imperceptible nod of approval. Set up an extra desk right inside my private office. Let him start with the most basic entry-level tasks first. No way. I want to sit out there in the main hall with everyone else. Just do as I say. Get to it immediately. My counter-protest, being ruthlessly shut down, was entirely within my expectations. Xie Yiqian was acting like an absolute, uncompromising dictator right now. If you dare use this job as a cheap excuse to sneak out behind my back, then you can completely forget about ever stepping a single foot outside the mansion again. The moment I took a step outside the office, I came face to face with dozens of staring eyes that hadn't yet managed to hide their sheer, gossipy curiosity. As our gazes locked dead on in midair, the atmosphere instantly turned incredibly tense and awkward. Yet, I felt as if I had finally found my long-lost tribe. A bright, incredibly warm smile instantly lit up my face, and I stepped forward, greeting everyone in a clear, cheerful voice. Hey there. Good morning. We're going to be colleagues from now on. I'm completely new to this industry, so I practically know nothing yet. I'll be counting on all of your guidance and support. Oh, please. Mr. Yi, you're being far too polite. I acted as though I was completely oblivious to their sharp, examining stares, seamlessly and effortlessly blending into the crowd. After exchanging a few casual jokes, the initial ice in the room began to thaw. Unable to suppress her burning curiosity, one of the employees cautiously leaned in to pry. Do you mind if I ask what exactly your relationship is with President Xie? I blinked and delivered a smooth, natural response without missing a beat. Oh, we're childhood friends and former classmates. Oh, so that's how it is. Light bulbs immediately went off. So they were childhood sweethearts. But who is this guy, really? Just then, the special assistant arrived with the maintenance crew, carrying a brand new desk, chair, computer, and pristine office equipment. Seeing me surrounded, she called out, "Young master, why aren't you waiting inside President Xie's office?" The assistant halted her steps, her tone exceptionally respectful. Those two words, young master, shattered the quiet room like a heavy stone dropped into a glassy pond, sending shockwaves of pure disbelief through everyone's minds. The entire floor fell into a dead, pin-drop silence. The elusive young master of the CF family, the one rumored to have an absolutely toxic relationship with President Xie. Of course, the only man permitted to stand by Xie Yiqian's side could be none other than the young master of the Xie family. But this sudden play by the Xie family's young mistress was something they honestly couldn't comprehend. What they didn't realize was that behind the specialized, one-way mirror of the CEO's office, Xie Qian was standing in absolute silence. Her gaze pierced through the glass, locking dead-on onto me, her eyes swirling with a storm of complex, unreadable emotions. There was intense scrutiny, a hint of lingering suspicion, and a deeply suppressed sense of possessiveness. Lately, Yichun had been incredibly cooperative, even displaying the vibrant, lively charm of a 20-year-old, with absolutely zero cracks in his demeanor. Could this all just be an incredibly sophisticated, high-level act put on by Yichun? She had to quickly find a slip-up, tear down Yichun's perfect facade. And yet, she desperately wished it was all completely real. She wished time would just freeze right here, wishing Yichun would stay exactly like this forever, someone who would actually smile at her, bicker with her, and when playfully teased, would do nothing but give her a goofy, light-hearted grin. The assistant worked with impressive speed, quickly getting my workspace fully set up. A brand-new computer, a complete set of office supplies. Everything was ready to go. Having secured my own little domain, I looked incredibly locked in. For the entire morning, I sat obediently in front of the monitor, at times furrowing my brows in deep thought, and at others, typing away with an unusually serious expression. Duan Yuan, what on earth does this report even mean? What do these numerical figures represent? How do I even adjust the formatting of this document? Why does the layout I made look so completely atrocious? They definitely didn't teach us any of this in school. I've literally never handled this stuff before. This PowerPoint template is so incredibly outdated, and the color scheme is just awful. Holding on to my firm principle of self-reliance, I first stealthily used my phone to search for answers. And when I was truly, utterly stumped, I urgently summoned Duan Yuan for some remote, step-by-step guidance. After an entire day of absolute, grueling struggle, I somehow miraculously managed to complete a few basic entry-level assignments. Xie Qian printed out the documents I submitted, using the tip of her pen to point out several errors. The logic right here is completely disconnected. The data cited in this section is highly inaccurate, and this layout doesn't meet the company's official formatting standards. I leaned in closer as she mapped out corrections on the paper, explaining each point. Her voice was surprisingly gentle and patient. I found myself effortlessly following her train of thought, watching how she structured, edited, and refined the work, absorbing her systematic approach to problem-solving. Outside the window, the sky gradually deepened into the warm shades of twilight. At exactly 5 p.m., the end-of-day bell chimed right on schedule. I, who had been completely locked in and hyper-focused just a second ago, instantly re-energized as if a switch had been flipped. My eyes lit up, and in a flash, I saved the file and shut down the computer. Every single motion was as smooth and fluid as running water. I let out a quiet cheer, leaping up from my seat, ready to bolt out the door. Yichun, aren't you going to finish applying these edits? Oh, I'll fix it tomorrow. Labor laws state that it's officially time to log off. I dashed out of the executive suite, leaving behind a crowd of colleagues who were silently watching my swift escape with eyes full of absolute envy. I mean, seriously, who doesn't want to clock out right on time? Unfortunately, my sweet taste of freedom was tragically short-lived. We are incredibly sorry, young master. President Xie has specifically instructed us that you are absolutely not permitted to leave the building by yourself. Xie Yaqian, I want to go home. Go back inside, finish editing those documents, and then you can leave. But it's past working hours. This counts as overtime. Overtime betrieb. Besides, an employee leaving before their boss. At any other company, you would have been fired on day one. Clutching my phone tightly in my hand, I turned around, staring dejectedly at the towering elevator. I defeatedly dragged my feet back inside the elevator cab. The lights on the executive floor flickered back on just for me. Clock out. Man, I absolutely despise overtime. Eventually, I quietly followed Xie Yiqian back into the elevator. This time around, the ride was significantly quieter. By the time Xie Yiqian drove us back to the mansion, night had fully fallen, and Annie Wong had already prepared a massive dinner. Dish after dish of piping hot food was laid out across the table, radiating a comforting, cozy warmth. The two of us dined in complete, comfortable silence. The second I finished eating, I immediately retreated to the master bedroom to continue dominating the mobile gaming arena. Meanwhile, Xie Qian went straight into her study to tackle her paperwork. Not long after, her phone began to buzz incessantly. Hey, let's grab a drink tonight. We're on the street. You actually brought my brother-in-law to the office today. What's the real scoop? I'm not going. There is no scoop. Oh, come on, don't lie to me. You two surviving a whole day in absolute peace, without a single screaming match, or a passive-aggressive Cold War. That is wilder than the sun rising in the west. Whatever. He has amnesia anyway. Deeply annoyed by the relentless pestering, Xie Qian fired off a brief, dismissive reply and tossed her phone aside. An hour later, the front doorbell chimed. Annie Wong opened the door, revealing a grinning Gun Yin Yin standing on the threshold. She kicked off her shoes and slipped into house slippers with practiced ease. My dearest President Xie, I have officially invaded your sanctuary. Gun Yin Yin shot a quick text to Xie Yiqian upstairs. Where's my brother-in-law? You're incredibly persistent, you know. Xie Yiqian instinctively glanced toward the tightly closed door of the master bedroom. Did you seriously drive all the way over here just to feed your gossip addiction? Duh, absolutely. You two not tearing each other's throats out is a literal miracle. Of course I had to come see this spectacular anomaly with my own eyes. Gun Yin Yin leaned in close, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Xie Yiqian retorted in a cool, detached tone. We aren't zoo animals on display. Is it really worth a special viewing trip? But wait, isn't Yi-chun the guy who was literally ready to throw his life away for that Yuan Dian? How did he suddenly pull a complete 180? Seriously, babe, please tell me you aren't falling for another scam. Back when I was making an absolute fool of myself over Yuan Dian, Gun Yin Yin, as Xie Yiqian's absolute best friend, had spent countless nights drinking with her to comfort her. Naturally, she was still highly protective and wary. A soft, gentle warmth briefly flickered in Xie Yiqian's eyes. This time, he genuinely lost his memory. Ugh, didn't he pull that exact same fake headache and amnesia stunt last time just to play victim and make you soften up? He's probably just leveled up his manipulation tactics. No, this time is different. It's real. He doesn't even recognize who Yuan Dian is. Okay, but what if his acting skills have just gotten insanely good? Yiqian, you cannot let yourself fall into his trap again. Before she could finish her warning, the soft click of a door opening echoed. Both of them simultaneously looked up as I walked out wearing comfy loungewear. Standing by the banister, I peered down with a pair of perfectly clear, calm eyes, tinged with a hint of unfamiliarity and curiosity. Gun Yin Yin stood up immediately, beaming with her signature, radiant smile. Hey there, brother-in-law. Do we happen to speak a bit too loudly and disturb your peace? I slowly walked down the staircase, giving her a polite but decidedly distant nod. Hello. At the exact same time, I urgently pinged the system in my mind. Duan Yuan, who on earth is this? That's Gun Yin Yin, the female lead's absolute best friend whom she met during her early entrepreneurial days. Their bond is incredibly tight. She's pretty much the only person in the world who can get Xie Qian to genuinely open up and speak from the heart. Ah, I see. That makes perfect sense. Meeting Gun Yin Yin's highly inquisitive gaze, I muttered. I just came down to grab some water. Please, don't let me interrupt your conversation. I walked straight to the kitchen refrigerator, pulling out 2 cold bottles of mineral water. Holy crap, did he actually just smile at me? And he even went out of his way to greet me. Didn't he use to give me a major death stare every time we met? Wow, it looks like his amnesia is the real deal. His memory must have literally reset to when he was 20. He has completely wiped out all the people and drama from before. This is a massive, absolute win. We've got to celebrate. Let's hit the bar for a few drinks. My treat. Xie Qian hesitated for a brief second before nodding. Fine, let's go. Wait, are we witnessing a relapse, Yiqian? Are you seriously catching feelings for him all over again? Xie Qian completely ignored the teasing. She walked up to the master bedroom door and gave it a gentle tap. From inside, my slightly distracted voice echoed. As she pushed the door open, she saw me sitting cross-legged on the sofa, my thumbs flying across my phone screen. Apparently, my mobile gaming battle was at an absolute climax. The bright glow from the screen illuminated my face, casting a sharp profile that made me look so incredibly focused, entirely locked into a world of my own. Ichun, I'm heading out for drinks with Gunyen. Nien, I might be back a bit on the later side. Without even looking up, my eyes remained utterly glued to the screen. Sure, go ahead. It's not like I've got you locked up in chains. The very second those words left my mouth, Xie Qian's entire body went subtly but noticeably rigid. That offhand remark felt like a tiny, sharp needle, piercing straight into the rawest part of her heart. She opened her mouth, desperately wanting to say something, but the words died right in her throat, ultimately dissolving into a bitter, heavy silence. In the end, she didn't utter a single word, only casting one long, lingering look at me, before quietly pulling the door shut. Inside the dimly lit bar, bathed in a warm amber glow, the deep, pulsing bass of the music vibrated in the air. Xie Qian sat there in complete silence, knocking back 2 shots of hard liquor in rapid succession. Whoa, slow down. What is wrong with you? What on earth has triggered you like this tonight? Ignoring the concern, she raised a 3rd glass to her lips. Xie Qian tilted her head back, swallowing the burning liquid. Do you think I shouldn't be coddling him like this? Are you kidding? You are literally protecting him. Before, the second you let him off his leash, he'd run straight to Yuan Dian, and cause an absolute disaster. And wasn't it always you who had to sweep up his messes? Now that he's lost his memory, and things are still totally unpredictable, you have to be even more cautious. What if he spirals out of control all over again? He absolutely hates being locked down by me. And he doesn't love me either. Xie Qian stared blankly at the amber liquid, swirling listlessly inside her glass. Well, isn't that already glaringly obvious? But hey, at least he isn't actively making a mess of things anymore. This is your chance to slowly build back some closeness. Just take it one step at a time. You can't force these things overnight. But Xie Qian acted as though she hadn't heard a single word, promptly pouring herself another full glass. Gun Yin shook her head, realizing she was officially locked in as an emotional drinking buddy for the night. With both of them being exceptionally stunning, they had naturally drawn a massive crowd of admiring eyes. Sure enough, a few moments later, a tall, slick-looking man strolled over holding a glass, sliding smoothly into the empty stool right next to Xie Qian. Hey there, beautiful ladies. Drinking all alone must be pretty boring. How about we share a drink together? No, thanks. My friend here is already married. Hey, even married people can make new friends, right? Besides, this gorgeous lady looks like she's having a rough night. Why don't we have a little chat? I said I'm married. The smooth grin on the man's face stiffened slightly, his eyes narrowing with clear intent, as they darted down to her completely bare ring finger. His tone was laced with clear, heavy provocation. Seeing you look so down, are you having a fight with your husband? Let me tell you a little secret. Sometimes you just need to let loose and relax a bit. Who knows? Your husband might be out having the time of his life, somewhere else right now. Besides, you've already taken off your wedding ring. Why force yourself to be so completely stiff and serious? Life is painfully short. Isn't it better to just enjoy the moment? Meanwhile, I was currently teamed up with my gaming buddies, mics wide open, completely speechless as we faced off against the enemy duo, having an absolute blast. Suddenly, without a single shred of warning, I let out a massive sneeze. Who on earth is thinking about me? I rubbed my nose and muttered quietly under my breath. Xie Qian's entire demeanor instantly turned ice cold. Get lost. The man, thoroughly terrified by her frigid, absolute death glare, scrambled away in a total panic. Gun Yin let out a long sigh of relief. Turning her head back, she saw Xie Qian staring down, completely fixated on her own right hand. Her ring finger was completely bare. My marriage with Yi-chun was nothing but a complete sham from the start. Before losing his memory, Yi-chun didn't love me. And even after losing his memory, he still doesn't love me. This crushing realization burned far worse than any kind of hard liquor. Xie Qian didn't utter another word. She just kept downing glass after glass. Gun Yin watched her, her heart aching with concern, but she had absolutely no idea how to comfort her. Eventually, seeing that Xie Qian was completely blackout drunk, she had no choice but to call her own people over to safely escort this stubborn VIP back home first. It was late into the night when the driver helped Xie Qian out of the car. As the crisp night breeze blew past, her mind seemed to regain a tiny shred of clarity. However, her footsteps were still terribly unsteady. She brushed off Gun Yanyan's hand as she tried to support her, stubbornly stumbling into the house on her own, dragging her feet up the stairs one agonizing step at a time. Seeing that her job was finally done, Gun Yanyan headed back to her own home with peace of mind. Right outside the master bedroom door, Xie Qian came to a halt, leaning heavily against the freezing wall. She clumsily tried to smooth out her dress. Only after finishing this did she take a deep, trembling breath and grasp the icy doorknob. "Baby, I'm laying my life on the line for you." My ecstatic, yelling voice echoed from inside the room, slipping through the slightly ajar doorway and delivering a crystal-clear blow directly to her ears. Xie Qian's hand instantly froze solid on the doorknob. For a fraction of a second, the blood in her veins ran completely cold, before rushing violently straight to her head in the very next moment. The venomous, provoking words of that man from the bar returned to haunt her like a cursed, dark prophecy, becoming a reality in the most brutally ironic way possible. So Ichin didn't lose his memory at all. He has been playing me for a fool this entire time, using that innocent, naive 20-year-old gaze and those seemingly warm, affectionate gestures. He meticulously spun a massive, elaborate web of lies behind my back in a place I couldn't see. Ichun and Yuan Diandian were still keeping up such an incredibly intimate connection. That sweet, affectionate pet name. For years, she had whispered his name countless times in her dreams, praying that one day, Ichun would call her something just as sweet. But Ichun had never, ever called her that. Not even once. Yet, he had called another woman that name thousands of times. Xie Qian's deep, burning jealousy, mixed with the alcohol, which had only slightly worn off, erupting into a towering, uncontrollable rage. The sheer humiliation of being deceived felt like molten lava bursting to the surface, instantly consuming the absolute last shred of her sanity. With a violent shove, she slammed the bedroom door wide open. The soft, cozy light of the bedroom spilled outward, creating a stark, jarring contrast against the pitch-black darkness of the hallway. I was half reclined against the headboard wearing my headphones, my fingers still furiously tapping away on the screen, thoroughly startled by the sudden, deafening crash. I abruptly jerked my head up. My face still carried the lingering traces of the carefree, happy smile from bantering with my gaming buddies. Standing there, Xie Qian's cheeks were flushed an unnatural, feverish red. Her eyes held a level of raw fury, an utter despair that I had never witnessed before. Her usual cold, polished, and perfectly polite facade had completely shattered, leaving her looking like a mortally wounded beast. She glared at me, her lips trembling violently for what felt like eternity, before forcing out a choked, tear-filled accusation. "Yi Chen, you lied to me. You never lost your memory at all, did you?" I sat up straight in utter confusion. What on earth did I lie to you about? I have absolutely never lied to you. Not lying to me? She advanced toward me, one heavy step at a time, the sharp click of her high heels echoing against the floor, like steps taken on a blade's edge. "Who on earth were you just calling, baby? It was Yuan Diandian, wasn't it? You've been putting on a performance this entire time, faking your amnesia, acting all obedient, pretending you only rely on me, while still secretly clinging to her behind my back." At that exact moment, the realization finally hit me. I let out a helpless laugh and raised my phone. "Are you seriously talking about this? This is literally my gaming teammate. He's a guy, for crying out loud. I just pulled off an epic pentakill and called him baby to celebrate the victory. What wild scenarios are you fabricating in your head?" Xie Qian's footsteps ground to an abrupt halt, the alcohol instantly draining from her system. The blazing fury in her eyes gradually froze over, giving way to absolute, stunned disbelief. She stared blankly at the match in her face, displayed on my phone screen, and then looked back at my utterly baffled, innocent expression, The flushed crimson on her cheeks vanished, leaving her face paper white. I lowered my voice. Xie Qian, I know exactly what you're terrified of. You're terrified of me remembering Yuan Diandian. But that guy who was ready to throw his life away for Yuan Diandian, that wasn't really me. That was just a puppet being dragged around by a stupid storyline. My memories right now are strictly capped at age 20. All I remember is that we've been mortal enemies ever since we were kids. She abruptly turned her head away, her shoulders trembling as she refused to look at me. But she didn't offer a single word of denial. I got out of bed and walked over to stand right in front of her. That guy who was ready to throw his life away for Yuan Diandian. That wasn't really me. That was just a puppet being dragged around by a stupid storyline. My memories right now are strictly capped at age 20. All I remember is that we've been mortal enemies ever since we were kids. But I also remember when I won first place at the track meet and wrecked my leg. You were the one who carried me all the way to the school clinic, scolding me the entire time, yet holding my hands so tightly that you barely dared to let go. I remember that you always had a sharp tongue, but a soft heart. And when I was completely broke and needed allowance, you'd complain and claim you didn't want to help, but the second you turned around, you had already stuffed the cash into my pockets. And I still remember you claiming that even if every single man on this planet died off, you would absolutely never, ever catch feelings for me. That was just a heat-of-the-moment thing. I know. I gently reached out my hand, softly wiping away the tears streaming down her face with a clumsy but incredibly genuine touch. Over this past half-month, I've seen everything crystal clear. On the surface, you use a golden chain to keep me locked down, constantly paranoid that I'll run away or get hurt. Yet, you provide me with the absolute best life, and you even abandoned a massive career-defining business bid just for me. Even when you suspected I might just be faking it, you still rushed to my side every single time. Xie Yaqian, you're not some wicked villain. You're honestly just the absolute silliest, most fiercely protective person in my entire life. She abruptly jerked her head up, her scalding, hot tears splashing directly onto the back of my hand. Are you really never going to go back to Yuan Diandian? Why on earth would I ever go back to her? A girl who did nothing but string me along, using me as a stepping stone to drag down the Xie Corporation for her own gain, all while refusing to give me a single shred of genuine affection. I'd have to be clinically insane to ever touch that mess again. The guy who did all those foolish things wasn't me. Right now, I am fully myself, and I make a strict rule to stay far away from absolute garbage. Host, you are literally a genius. The massive misunderstanding has been completely cleared. Ignoring the system's excited chatter in my head, I gently took Xie Qian by the hand, guiding her over to the edge of the bed to sit down. As for everything that happened before, I want to apologize on his behalf. He made you suffer through 6 long, agonizing years of heartbreak, leaving you completely unable to sleep peacefully at night, forcing you, who clearly loved me so deeply, to resort to locking me up just to keep me by your side. He deeply, truly wronged you. But I give you my absolute word. From this exact moment onward, Ichin will never let Xie Qian shed another single tear of sadness ever again. Xie Qian instantly threw herself into my arms, locking her hands tightly around my waist, and burying her face in the crook of my neck. 6 years of pent-up pain and bitter resentment finally shattered and spilled over. As she sobbed uncontrollably like a heartbroken child, I gently stroked her back, my heart completely overflowing with tenderness. This so-called imprisonment by Xie Qian had never actually been about control, but rather about salvation. If she hadn't constantly monitored my every single move, the version of me controlled by the plot would have died long ago. From endless self-harm and sheer despair, she had simply used the most clumsy, most stubbornly desperate method possible, just to keep me alive. From now on, don't lock me up with those chains anymore. I promise I won't run away. If you're ever scared, I'll take you with me wherever I go, working right by your side, staying with you for the rest of my life, never leaving. She looked up with her tear-rimmed eyes, letting out a soft laugh as she asked, "Is that a promise? A promise purer than gold. Besides, I need to start working incredibly hard to help you manage the Xie Corporation. I used to be nothing but a massive burden to you, but from now on, I will be your strongest, most reliable shield." That night, for the very first time, We didn't sleep a meter apart. I held her close in my arms, and she drifted into a deep, peaceful slumber against my chest, without tossing and turning, and without waking up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night. The next morning, when Xie Qian woke up, she was still a bit shy, her ears blushing a bright crimson. I couldn't help but tease her on purpose. "Well, President Xie, who was that giant crybaby last night, huh?" She shot me a playful glare, completely devoid of her past, icy coldness. "Don't you dare bring that up again." Once we got out of bed, I immediately instructed the bodyguards to pack up and remove every single golden chain in the house. "From now on, I'll bind you to me with my genuine heart, a bond far more secure than any cold metal." Over the following weeks, I completely threw myself into the actual operations of the business, starting from scratch where I couldn't even read a basic financial report, to gradually shadowing Xie Qian, absorbing crucial business strategies, and managing company affairs. My progress was absolutely meteoric. Whenever Xie Qian tutored me, she was incredibly patient, and I was exceptionally focused, driven solely by the desire to shoulder her heavy burdens, so she would never have to carry the weight of the world alone again. As for Yuan Dian, she finally had to pay the ultimate price for her boundless greed and sheer selfishness, with the government bidding project ending in an absolute disaster. Not only did she fail to secure any investment from the chief family, but she was also buried under a mountain of astronomical debt. The entire Yuan family's corporate shares were forcefully liquidated, and her father, a man who strictly prioritized profit over blood, saw that she had completely lost all her leverage. He immediately stripped away every ounce of her executive power within the company, promoting his other children instead. Yuan Dian was instantly shunned by high society, her past glory completely evaporating like thin mist. In the end, she had no choice but to pack her bags and leave the city in shame, utterly powerless to ever stir up trouble again. When the news finally reached me, I only offered a cold, faint smile. Karma always catches up. Her pathetic downfall was a tragedy she custom-built for herself, and she had absolutely nobody else to blame. The next time Gu Yin paid a visit to the Xie residence, she saw me and Xie Qian sitting close together on the sofa. I was carefully peeling tangerines for her, while she leaned comfortably against my shoulder reviewing corporate documents. It was a picture of pure, domestic bliss. The sight shocked Gu Yin so much she nearly spit her tea across the room. "Oh my God, Ichun, you have literally undergone a total personality transplant. Before, your eyes were exclusively glued to Yuan Dian, but now, your entire universe revolves around our precious Yiqian. Love to see it, love to see it. You've finally cleared the brain rot and seen the light." Xie Qian gave Gu Yin a gentle, blushing nudge. "Stop talking nonsense." I took Xie Qian's hand, looking her dead in the eye with absolute sincerity. I was completely blind in the past, but now I finally see clearly. I know exactly who is truly worth treasuring with all my heart. Ding. Host, Phase 1 of your mission has been successfully completed. All health metrics have returned to optimal levels. Phase 2 of your mission, protecting Xie Qian, has now been officially unlocked. Your secret mystery gift box has been delivered. Open it now. Reward received. Perfect harmony. From this moment on, the two of you will share a seamless telepathic bond, ensuring no misunderstandings will ever tear you apart again. As the days bled into weeks, my weight steadily returned to a healthy, normal range. The frail, sickly look that once defined me was entirely gone, replaced by a vibrant, energetic aura. The bond between me and Xie Qian only grew deeper and more intense with each passing day. We transformed from childhood rivals into the absolute most indispensable parts of each other's lives. Under our joint leadership, the Xie Corporation flourished like never before, relentlessly expanding its business empire to brand new heights, officially becoming the absolute leading enterprise in the entire city. Those very shareholders who once doubted Xie Qian's leadership now shower me with nonstop praise and endless admiration. One beautiful weekend, I decided to take Xie Qian back to the campus of our old alma mater. Strolling down those highly familiar paths, watching the eager young students hustle past us, It felt exactly as though we had traveled back to being 20 years old. I suddenly stopped in my tracks, looking intently at Xie Qian, before dropping down on one knee right there on the pavement. Pulling a stunning diamond ring out of my pocket, I held it up. This right here is the ring I bought with the very first paycheck I ever earned on my own. Xie Qian, back when we were 20 and I wrecked my ankle. You were the one who helped me limp down this exact path. Now, at 26, I want to hold your hand and walk beside you for the rest of our lives. Our past marriage was born from petty spite, desperate salvation, and mere accidents. But now, I want to marry you simply because I love you. Will you do me the absolute honor of marrying me? Xie Qian's eyes welled with tears as she nodded fiercely, choking out through her sobs. Yes, I'll marry you. I slipped this sparkling diamond ring onto her ring finger, standing up to pull her into a tight, breathless embrace. From this moment on, there are no more mortal enemies. There is only me and my beautiful wife, inseparable for life, growing old together until our hair turns completely white. Ding! Host, the final mission has been successfully completed. The grand reward, Grow Old Together, has now been officially activated. Wishing you and Xie Qian a lifetime of absolute happiness, peace, and smooth sailing. Holding the love of my life tightly in my arms, my heart was filled with absolute, pure contentment. I used to believe I was nothing more than a helpless puppet, hopelessly trapped inside a pre-written novel, destined by a cruel fate to head straight toward a tragic end. But now I understand. As long as you stay true to yourself and cherish genuine love, you can break free from any narrative chains and live life entirely on your own terms. Xie Qian endured 6 long years of stubborn devotion and silent protection, just to finally wait out the real, true me, and I will spend the entire remainder of my life offering her boundless tenderness and loyalty, repaying her for every single drop of heartache and lonely waiting she endured in the dead of night. Looking down at Xie Qian sleeping peacefully beside me, I gently pressed a soft, lingering kiss onto her forehead. In this lifetime, getting to marry you is truly the greatest stroke of luck Yichun could ever have. From this moment on, through every raging storm, you are my peace. In poverty, you are my warmth. In wealth and glory, you are my joy. The gentlest, most sacred place in my heart is reserved for you, and wherever my eyes wander, they will always look only at you.